Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Premier League Front History with me, Tom Atkinson, once more riding solo unfortunately. Week 8 of Premier League fixtures, round 8, the 8th game of the season, and a real interesting weekend in my opinion. Really want to talk about Bournemouth's huge win over Hull, 6-1, fantastic game. I want to talk a little bit about Southampton, refinding some of that form from the last couple of seasons, reinventing themselves once more as they always seem to do. Really impressive team to bounce back year after year and prove the doubt as well. Then finally I want a general chat just about City, Everton, Tottenham, West Brom, points dropped, points gained, depending which way you look at it. Talk a little bit about Arsenal's win, the importance of that, and just how important tomorrow night's game, this has been recorded on a Sunday, so obviously talking about Liverpool and Man United, how important that game is going to be for the shaping of the top 6, so to speak. If you look at it now, very close between 1st and 6th, there only seems to be a 4-point gap. Obviously that could all change by the end of tomorrow, but a real tight Premier League season so far. Some real surprise results, a few dark horses in the mix, but a really intriguing season thus far. If you love the show once more, likes, comments, all appreciated. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them either underneath in the comment section up in here on YouTube, or you can find me on Twitter, and my handle is Tommyaki, that's at TOMMYAKKI, Tommyaki, TOMMYAKKI. Please feel free to shoot a message, to shoot me some questions that you have, but I really hope that you enjoy the show, guys. Thanks again for listening in. So we're going to start with Eddie Howe's Bournemouth and their 6-1 dismantling of Hull. Have to feel for Hull, I really do. Chairman who really seems to be dragging his feet and hurting the club, unfortunately. Mike Phelan kind of messed around and finally given the full-time job this week, only to have his team absolutely steamrolled by Eddie Howe's men down on the south coast. 6-1, absolutely fantastic result for the Cherries. Do feel sorry for Hull. I think this is the start of things to come for them. It's a sort of realisation has kicked in. The honeymoon period's over. They're really going to struggle. It's a real thin squad, a paper-thin squad. Any injuries are going to really hurt the team. And, you know, they're going to really struggle to keep up that level of play that really helped them in the first part of the season. Looked very ineffective against Bournemouth today. Actually had the lion's share of possession with 51% versus Bournemouth's 49%. But talk a little bit more about Eddie Howe's tactics in a couple of minutes. But I feel sorry for Hull. I think this season's sort of a journey to nothing, in all honesty. They're going to come up, they're going to go down. There's going to be more uncertainty at the end of the year, and I can't help but feel for those fans. A great following, but they're really going to struggle. Bournemouth, on the other hand, Eddie Howe is doing something very special on the south coast with Bournemouth, in my opinion. Teams playing exceedingly well. You just look at the statistics of the game. It doesn't seem to be a possession-oriented squad. Very much a team who are quite direct with their style. That's not to say they're a long ball team by any means, but once they get in the final third, they make things happen. The transition from back to front is very quick, and then they want to make something happen in the final third. 22 shots on target. 22 shots at target. I don't necessarily think they were all on target. 22 shots, though, speaks of a team who are very willing to create chances. And to be fair, with a goal ratio of 6 from 22, you're looking at a team who looked very clinical at the weekend. There's a particular player I want to pick out and sort of analyse his game this weekend. It's Junior Stanislas. Last 3 games he's played, he's managed to score 3 and assist 2. Real impressive sort of vein of form that he's finding. Can he continue it? Obviously far too soon to say, but I think if he can, and if he can keep this going until Christmas, not only is it going to really benefit Bournemouth, but I definitely think he might be in with a shout of an England call-up. He's only 26 years old. He's played for a couple of clubs, started at West Ham, had a Premiership season with them, moved on to Burnley, did surprisingly well with Burnley, ended up at Bournemouth, and he's gone from strength to strength under Eddie Howe. Obviously this season, the 3 goals, 2 assists in the last couple of games, superb. But he ran the show at the weekend. Him and Jordan Ibe looked very dangerous. Midfield looked extremely solid. Callum Wilson, always an option and outlet up there. They just looked absolutely superb. And credit to Eddie Howe, there's no superstars in that team. Nobody would have turned around and said, Ibe and Stanislas are going to be absolutely fantastic for them this year. You know, you just don't expect that from his teams. You don't expect the prima donnas. You expect solid consistency. But just they were able to turn it up a level this weekend, and maybe the sign of things to come because they've looked very threatening this season in the final third. But 6 goals against anybody is impressive, and you've really got to give Eddie Howe a pat on the back. Doesn't want this possession-oriented system, which, linking him back to the England job, England seem to be sort of fannying on with the ball at the minute and not being able to put it in the back of the net. It's almost as if Eddie Howe is the complete antithesis of that system. Should he go for the England job, or does he deserve it? He deserves it, certainly. Should he go for it? No, in my opinion. I think it could ruin his career, and I don't want that to happen. I think he needs to be sort of left alone, left to do things at Bournemouth, because he's doing something very right there. He reminds me a little bit of Glenn Hoddle, in all honesty. He really does. Got very good technical set of players. They all know their positions, they all know their roles, they all know what they need to do to serve the best interests of the club, in all honesty, you know, doing really well. I think it's great that Jack Wilshere's there. It really adds another string to their bow. It adds another element. It's great for Jack. It really is. It's great for him to be getting a consistent game time in a team that really suits his style of play. I'm not saying Arsenal don't, but I'm saying he's a great player to add into that squad. Harry Arter, another one who's going to be alongside him this season, looks absolutely fantastic. And I just think you really need to take your hat off for Eddie Howe, and just the way that he's managed to get Bournemouth up, to keep them up, and now they seem to have just taken this giant step forward, hoping they can keep it up. They made some pretty shrewd buys this summer, a couple of big ones as well. We'll soon see how their squad depth holds up. But I don't see them struggling this year whatsoever. I see them going strength to strength. Hopefully they can kick on and put in a good run of results over the next few weeks. And I'd love to see them do well, and I'd love to see Eddie Howe go from strength to strength. Will he be there 5 years' time? Not sure. Might have moved on to bigger, better things. But I think we need to just take a step back right now, let him do his own thing, and just really admire the work that he's doing. Moving on to the other South Coast club, talk about Southampton for a little bit. Seem to have refound some form. A little bit of a slow start at the beginning of the season, but looked great this weekend. Really comfortable 3-1 win over Burnley, which could have been a lot more if not for Tom Heaton's heroics. 51 minutes Tom Heaton looked superb for, kept out everything Southampton could throw at him. But then it was another 2 Englishmen. We already spoke about Josh King. Would there be a possibility of him breaking the England squad? I don't know. But I definitely think you need to look at the likes of him, Nathan Redmond, who's been an absolutely fantastic buy for Southampton this year, and the likes of Charlie Austin. Charlie Austin seems to have found some form recently, scored a few goals, 2 more at the weekend to complement Nathan Redmond's other for Southampton. And both players look great. Again, this idea that they look direct. They didn't look like they were caught up in the headlights and didn't know what to do. They were direct, they were potent. There was something just about the way they play. They don't play with this verve or swagger, so to speak, but they play with this like clinical ability to actually get into the right place at the right time and cause defence problems. I honestly think they looked absolutely superb, Southampton. Burnley, I think they might struggle a little bit this year. They've got some good players, don't get me wrong. They've had a couple of good results recently. I think they might struggle. They just don't seem to have that strength and depth, though Sean Dyche has them playing a pretty nice style of football when they can. But moving back to Southampton, I just think as well you've got to really admire their youth system. Another player making his debut this weekend, Sam McQueen, who won the penalty. The third goal obviously came from Charlie Austin. Sam McQueen looked great. He looked very lively out on that left wing. Didn't see loads of him, to be honest, but looked direct, looked threatening, looked like he wasn't afraid to have a go at his man, which is really impressive for a young guy. And if you look back at who else Southampton have produced, just absolute string of superb players. You look at Jake Hesketh's in there, another highly rated player, Lloyd Isgrove, Matt Targett, Harris Reed, absolute plethora of really, really talented young English players. Just a conveyor belt down on that south coast for the red and white men down there. Conveyor belt of absolutely superb players who just seem to fit seamlessly into the first team squad. I think a lot of other English teams, especially Premier League teams, need to take a long, hard look at themselves. I wrote an article recently talking about England's sort of international demise and what's funded that, and basically it's the FA sort of being far too preoccupied with finances and white elephants like St George's Park and not putting back more into the community. Germany, for example, 3,000 B-level coaches who scout for the national team and give their recommendations to Bundesliga and other local clubs for talented youngsters. England maybe don't do that as much. Southampton, however, seem to be the exception. They seem to pick up player after player after player. Theo Walcott, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Gareth Bale, just 3 off the top of my head who I know come from Southampton's youth ranks. Such a wonderful system they must have there. Focusing on technical ability, it would seem, rather than just pure power and strength, which is probably the downfall of a lot of clubs. Not only that, they seem to use their youth players as backup for key positions. So Sam McQueen, for example, left winger, is given an opportunity. Dusan Tadic moved more centrally and played in there, so there's an opportunity there. Matt Targett and Ryan Bertrand sort of battling it out for the left back spot. Harris Reed more than comfortable when he comes into the centre of the park. And I think we'll see more of Lloyd Isgrove and co in the future. But you really have to commend how a superb job Southampton are doing. You look at the likes of City and United. United spending £89 million on a player they let go from their youth facilities. It's mind-boggling sums of money, but just speaks of almost idiocy in all honesty. And Southampton are great at making money from their academy. It's a real good model that consistently churns out great players, and you've really got to give them some credit for that. So to take away from the Southampton game, really got to recommend. You've really got to give some praise to the way they play, the system that they use. Also got to have a look at the wider reach of this weekend and some England players coming into some good form. So likes of Stanislas, the likes of Charlie Austin and Nathan Redmond look fantastic. And you got to ask, do we need to give these kinds of players more game time? We really need to give them some more opportunities to impress, not just in the Premier League, but maybe on an international level or at a higher level, so to speak. Finally, I just want to spend the last sort of chunk of the episode talking about the Premier League thus far, where we're at. 8 games in, obviously 20 clubs play each other twice minus the 2s, 38 games. Still a long way to go, but we're almost, I would say, somewhere between 20-25% of the season gone. The league's starting to take a little bit of shape. Really, really tight at the top. Between first place and 6th place, there's a 4-point gap, and that's without United and Liverpool having played each other yet. And City dropping points this weekend against Everton, who are up in that top 6. Tottenham drawn 1-1 with West Brom, another surprising result. But I think the title race is going to be really interesting this year. Obviously, we don't have the Leicester of last year. Could Everton form into that? Who knows? But you don't have that sort of shock title contender thus far. You do have City, Arsenal and Tottenham taking up those top 3 spots. Obviously with United and Liverpool and Chelsea sort of up in those reaches as well, not totally off the boil. And I think this year is really special. I really do. I think the fact that Pep came in, looked absolutely superb, and yet has sort of failed to win the last 3 games, maybe might not only bring him back down to earth with a bump, but also suggests how tactically malleable other teams are. Everton really frustrated City at times. City had something like 72% of the possession in that second half alone, and yet couldn't find a way past Everton other than an Nolito header. Really struggled to break down Ronald Koeman's men, who played a sort of odd formation. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't say they parked the bus, but they knew how to frustrate City. And then when you give people like Romelu Lukaku time and space, they're going to punish you, which he did. So City dropping points. Everton probably a point gained, in all honesty. Keeps them up in the top 6 and challenging for honours at the end of the season. Tottenham, West Brom. Real interesting one. I thought Tottenham were going to hand West Brom a real spanking, but obviously went down and needed Dele Alli to come out in the last sort of 5 minutes and rescue a point. I think they're going to really struggle without Harry Kane until he gets back fit. Janssen will undoubtedly, in my mind, come good in a season or two. Is he good enough to lead the line right now? I think he's going to struggle. A lot of players have that first season of sort of hodgepodge form, so to speak, but he'll come good. He did absolutely superb in Holland last year and looks a great fixture when he's in the national side, so he'll come good. But I think Tottenham's real strength lies in their creative players. Hyung Sung Min doing absolutely fantastic this season, winning Barclays Player of the Season, Player of the Month for last month. Christian Eriksen, no more needs to be said about him, just absolute magician of a player. Dele Alli, once more, seems to be finding some form. Some issues surrounding the team's temperament. I think Pochettino learned a lot from last season and failing to take it to the wire with the title. But he's come back. I've seen him interviewed with the BBC with Jermaine Jenas. Seems a real sort of focused character, someone who is a real scholar of the game. And I think he knows where they went wrong, and I think he knows what he wants to do. He knows how he wants to rectify it. So I really do see them being in it for the remainder of this season. Obviously, the win against City really stamped their title credentials. Chelsea, good win. Arsenal, good win. Keeps them up there, keeps them challenging. They're always going to be around there. Do I see them going on and challenging? Probably not this year. Conte's men look a little bit erratic at times, and Wenger's teams are Wenger's teams. Shipped 2 goals against Swansea this weekend, which at home is sort of for a team like that, you wouldn't expect it to happen. It's disappointing. And I've said it for a few episodes this season. Arsenal, much like Liverpool's defence, isn't good enough to be a title-winning defence, unfortunately. I think their offence, their attack is absolutely superb, but you need that solid base at the back. And I think Tottenham have that. I think City definitely have that this year. Kompany hasn't even really been back in the squad yet, but the likes of Stones and Otamendi have looked absolutely superb. I just don't see the likes of City and Tottenham, and I think you could throw Liverpool maybe into that equation, but I don't see them struggling as much, mainly because of not only their attack, but they have a solid defence. Liverpool not so much, maybe that was a bit of a miscomment, but definitely the defences of Tottenham and City look absolutely superb. Man United's a little bit hit and miss. Chelsea's really struggling this year, Arsenal's as well. But I think this season is just undoubtedly going to be one of the most interesting that we've seen in a long while. Seems to be a whole host of different teams who are more than capable of putting up a challenge. We'll just have to see how it pans out. Liverpool United tomorrow. How do I think that game's going to go? I have no idea. It depends if Liverpool's attack turns up and can really force United into struggling to contain them. Exact same can be said of United. Can their attack finally show up against one of the bigger clubs, and can they force Liverpool's creaky defence into making mistakes? We'll see. But like I say, just reiterating the point once more, I just think Tottenham and City look the most well-balanced of all the teams out there at the minute. John Stones looks absolutely superb. Tottenham's defence hasn't changed really since last season. Vertonghen looks absolutely fantastic once more, as does Alderweireld. I just don't see City and Tottenham struggling at all this year. I think they've got enough squad depth. I think they've got a good enough platform from the back to work on. And I can see if Harry Kane gets back or if Janssen finds form, I can really see Tottenham punishing teams. The 2-0 win against City for me really put a stamp on their title credentials. But so much time to go. Although the league's shaping up, but there really is a lot of time for things to change. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how Christmas affects players with the congested fixture list. We'll see how the January transfer window bears fruit for certain teams. But I'm really excited to see how the league starts to pan out over the next few weeks. And that's really all we've got time for this week, guys. Round 8 over and done with. Talking points, Junior Stanislas, Eddie Howe and Bournemouth's superb win. Talk about Southampton, their conveyor belt of talent, how wonderful it is, and the fact that 2 Englishmen brought into the club in Redmond and Austin seem to be really delivering the goods. Great news there. General chit-chat about title contenders, who's going to be up there, who isn't, and why not. And finally, I just want to say how fantastic it's been the start of the season. Really been great, really been gripping, and I'm hoping it continues week after week. If you've enjoyed the show, please go ahead, give me a like if you want, subscribe if that's your thing, so you can get some notifications when I make new episodes. Find me on Twitter once more, handle Tommyaki at TOMMYAKKI. Ask me any questions you want. I'm more than welcome to chat with people. And I hope you've enjoyed the episode, guys. A lot of waffle once more. I'll speak to you guys next week. I hope you all stay safe, take it easy, and I'll catch you next week. Goodbye.